Hello everybody, my name is Josh Birch. I am a magician and today we are going to talk about creativity. If you are watching this video, then odds are you are also a magician. If you are not, I hope that you'll still find the information inside this video to be helpful. If you like what you see, please make sure to like and subscribe. Stay tuned for 5 steps that will help you to become more creative at the end of this video. I work as a creative consultant, making magic and special effects for magicians and theater companies across the country. Creativity has been an important part of my life ever since childhood. As a kid, my mom worked as a professional artist. Seeing her create under pressure has helped to teach me a whole bunch of lessons. I thought that today I might share some of those lessons with you. Since then, I have entered a creative field, and I believe that there are a few things that I have learned that could help somebody else out who is trying to foster their own creativity. When it comes to creativity, there are a few pervasive myths out there. The first is that you have to be born with creativity, or that there is something innate inside of you that makes you creative. The second myth is that it's impossible to create on the spot. You can't rush art. I'd like to address these two myths. Max Maven is one of the most prolific magic creators of all time. He is well known for his contributions to mentalism and mind reading, but he has created magic for virtually every scenario. When asked about creativity, he said to, quote, "read everything." When asked to be more specific, he said something along the lines of, "if I thought that it required more explanation, I would have given it." If you do not feel like you're super creative, then your first step should be to expose yourself to as many different thoughts as you can. Go read a book, go watch some movies, go watch some TV. Expose yourself to new and interesting thoughts. You can get better at being creative. You do this by practicing. Creativity is like a muscle. The more that you practice, the more creative you become. The more that you create, the better. My recommendation to practice your creativity comes in some part from Caleb Morelli. If you have followed his career, then you know that a few years ago he challenged himself to create a new piece of magic and film it every single day for a complete year. In numerous places he has talked about how the more that he created, the easier it was to come up with new ideas. Other magicians, like the brilliant magic creator Andre Cole, have done this as well. Andre Cole has created magic for many world-renowned stage illusionists, including David Copperfield. He talks about how many of his ideas came to him while he was in college, where he had a goal of creating 3 new ideas before he went to bed every night. Getting into the habit of creating and keeping track of your ideas is a way that you can teach yourself to be more creative. This touches on the second myth, that is that you can't create on demand. There is some truth to this. You may never know when a good idea might come to you, and you may never know where the solution to a problem might arise. But that doesn't mean that you can't force yourself to be creative. You can, and there are many professionals in many fields that do that. I have a few ideas that might help you to force yourself to be creative. In junior high school, I wrote a comic strip, and it was the first time that I ever had to create something with a deadline consistently. I had to have a good idea and develop it quickly so that it could be published in a timely manner. Limiting myself to certain characters, certain formats, and certain scenarios seemed to help my creativity much more than it hindered my creativity. Instead of asking myself, what would make a funny comic strip, I could ask myself, what could my characters in this comic strip do that might be funny? The need to create on the spot can be overwhelming. But if we break down our problem into manageable chunks by limiting ourselves, we can make the process much easier. If you're a magician, it can be difficult to add a piece of magic to your show. For instance, just adding a piece to some random place in your show might be difficult, but adding a new closer might be a little bit more easy. Limiting yourself and being a little picky helps you to find creative answers to your problems. Before I get into the 5 steps that will help you to become more creative, I'd like to talk a little bit about creating magic and magical presentations. In magic, we sometimes refer to the creative process as being method first or effect first. If I want to create a magic effect starting with the method, then I could start with a covert way to switch two cards. Once I have the method, then I could look for possible effects that could apply that method. It looks a little bit different if we start with the effect first. If we start with the effect first, then we need to brainstorm different ways that we might be able to accomplish that effect. For instance, if we want to make somebody levitate, then we could throw out different methods like using a giant fan or propeller or ropes or cords or magnets of some sort, and then we would have to work backwards until we could find a method that somehow reproduced the effect that we had in mind. I think that generally it's a good idea to start with the effect in magic. Darren Brown talks about how he believes that method-first creation creates convoluted and contrived magic effects. That may be the case, but sometimes I personally prefer to work from the method first and to be surprised by the possible effects that can be created using that method. In practice, I really don't think that there's such thing as effect-first creation or method-first creation. I feel like it's more of a loop, that we start with an idea for an effect that we might have, then we go to create the method, and then we try to apply that method, and sometimes we have to change the effect in order to work better with that method. If I mention Kalen Morelli again, from what I hear, he is very quick to act when he has an idea. He'll have an idea and go out and purchase the needed materials to create that idea. If I was to guess, then I would assume that many of these ideas are not fully developed, and that in some cases, these effects would change through time. Those changes come from where the method and the effect meet in the middle. As the method fights with the effect, it becomes a little bit of a process. As we change the method, we change the effect, and as the effect changes, the method can be altered as well. I think that there are a lot of people out there who think that in order to be creative, you need to be able to think of a solution to a problem as quick as possible. In reality, I think that the most creative people I know are willing to look at a problem and to grapple with it and really go through the creative process until they find a solution for that problem. In closing, here are my 5 steps to creativity. Number 1 is keep track of your ideas. You never know which ideas may help you in the future, and it may surprise you where the solutions for your current problems come from. Number 2, when you have an idea, start working as soon as possible. I've heard some people say, if you're going to fail, fail quickly. And I think that applies here. The sooner that you find out what doesn't work, the quicker that you can find out what does. Number 3 is don't marry yourself to an idea. While you're creating, it's important to allow your ideas to change. If you make new discoveries, allow those discoveries to change your creation. Number 4 is never stop learning. You need to get out and expose yourself to new and different ideas in order to get your thinking engine moving again. Finally, number 5 is never settle. Even when it feels complete, you need to be hard on yourself. Look at your creation and understand where its shortcomings are and what it does well. Understand that it may be appropriate to share your creation before you think that it's completely done. And sometimes by sharing your ideas, you can find the missing pieces. For more great information on creativity, go and check out Mark Elston's At the Table Live lecture. Here he offers several approaches to how he creates magic, and he offers several magic effects that he has created using those processes. Another great lecture is Kalen Morelli's Penguin Live lecture. It's a little quirky, but you get to see how Kalen thinks, and you get to see how his friend Blake Voigt thinks. Blake and Kalen have both worked for some of the greatest magicians alive, including Dynamo, David Blaine, David Copperfield, and many, many other magicians. In Kalen's lecture, you will be able to see how they both think about and create magic. Finally, I would recommend Bizarro's At the Table Live lecture or Bizarro's Penguin Live lecture. In both of these lectures, you get to see how Bizarro creates his magic. Bizarro excels at creating all types of magic, and in these 2 lectures, you get a peek behind the curtain as to how he creates new magic. So hopefully that helps you to spark your own creativity. Thanks for watching.